The royal family is on edge this morning, preparing for what could be another turbulent week as Prince Harry is set to arrive in London today. In a dramatic last-minute change, the Duke of Sussex will be making the journey alone after Meghan and the children cancelled their plans to join him. At the same time, fresh questions are being raised about whether Harry and Meghan are already looking for ways around these so-called new Megxit arrangements. After all, many believe their royal exit was never meant to be permanent, especially as their commercial ventures have struggled to deliver the financial success many expected. Reports from Alison Boshoff suggest the Sussexes have now agreed to a new set of respectful guidelines with the royal family. For days, the world anticipated one unforgettable moment. A single photograph. A grandfather finally embracing the grandchildren he had not seen in far too long. It promised to be a rare opportunity for healing within a family that has spent years divided. Everything appeared to be in place. The travel plans were organized, expectations were high, and cameras around the world waited for what many believed would be a historic reunion. Then, without warning, everything changed. The reunion never happened. Archie and Lilibet would remain in California. The official explanation pointed to concerns over security, specifically the absence of state-funded police protection. But when you examine how the trip unraveled, another possibility begins to emerge. The canceled visit may never have been driven purely by safety. It may have been about something far more strategic. Welcome back to Hollywood Today. Before we uncover what may really be happening behind the security dispute, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We go beyond the headlines to explore the stories others overlook, and what comes next may surprise you. If you enjoy this analysis, don't forget to leave a like. It helps the channel continue bringing you these in-depth reports. To appreciate the scale of this canceled homecoming, it helps to compare the two very different worlds at the center of this story. In the sunny hills of Montecito, California, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live inside a reported $14 million estate protected by private security, gated entrances, and extensive surveillance. They have often described this property as a peaceful refuge, a place where they escaped what they viewed as the pressures and toxicity surrounding life in Britain. Yet, when addressing the Home Office, the picture presented was dramatically different. According to reports, Prince Harry told his legal advisors, "I cannot bring my family back to my home country if their safety cannot be guaranteed by the state." He also argued that relying solely on his privately hired American security team would be like bringing a knife gunfight on the streets of London. That comparison portrayed one of the world's most heavily monitored capital cities as an unacceptable risk for his family. Royal commentators and palace insiders quickly highlighted what they saw as a striking contradiction. They pointed out that while Harry described London as too dangerous, he and Meghan have continued attending high-profile public events in cities with considerably higher crime rates. One palace source reportedly remarked, "It seems the definition of safety changes depending on who is paying the bill." The decision to cancel the children's visit was not presented as a sudden scheduling issue. Instead, it arrived at the very last moment. After reports indicated that flights had already been arranged, staff preparations were complete, and King Charles was expecting to see his grandchildren. Then came the reversal. By canceling the children's trips so late, the Sussexes did more than simply change their travel plans. According to critics, they delivered a carefully timed message directed at both the British government and the monarchy. What unfolded resembled a high-stakes chess match played in full view of the media. By connecting the children's visit to the ongoing security dispute, the move appeared designed to place public pressure on the Home Office. The image presented was powerful. A grandfather separated from his grandchildren because of decisions made by government officials. Reports claim Harry told those close to him, "If they want to see the children, they must provide the protection we deserve." But that's only part of the story. Instead of generating widespread sympathy, many observers interpreted the decision very differently. Critics argued that Archie and Lilibet had become bargaining chips in a wider legal battle over taxpayer-funded security. What was expected to be a joyful family reunion instead became another chapter in an already bitter public conflict. To many, this was not simply a story about personal safety. It became an example of how media strategy and public perception can shape one of the most closely watched family disputes in the world. What do you think? Was this genuinely about protecting the family, or was there another strategy unfolding behind the scenes? Share your opinion in the comments below. We read every one of them. And if you're enjoying this deep dive, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Hollywood Today for more in-depth royal analysis. Your support makes these stories possible. But the story doesn't end at the airport. What happened next shifted the battle away from canceled flights and emotional reunions to one of the most important legal fights Prince Harry has faced. Behind the headlines lies a little-known organization called RAVIC, the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures. Most people have never heard its name, yet it plays a central role in determining who receives official state security in Britain. In many ways, it represents the invisible barrier standing between Prince Harry and the royal life he chose to leave behind. At first glance, the dispute may appear to be nothing more than a son asking his father for help. But the reality is far more complex. This is not about King Charles personally refusing to protect his son. It is about the British government applying established legal and constitutional rules. When Prince Harry stepped away from his role as a working royal, he did more than resign from royal duties. He also gave up the constitutional position that had entitled him to certain state-funded protections. Official security is not unlimited. It is funded by taxpayers and reserved for individuals carrying out duties on behalf of the crown. Now, however, the Duke is asking for those protections to be restored after voluntarily stepping away from the role that originally justified them. In doing so, he has launched legal action against the very government that serves under his father's reign, creating an extraordinary constitutional dilemma that has left many legal experts questioning the implications of the case. During the court proceedings, a lawyer representing the Home Office laid out the government's position in unmistakable terms, stating, "The Duke of Sussex no longer holds the same status as those who carry out official duties for the monarchy, and therefore his security must be assessed on a case-by-case basis." That statement cuts to the heart of the entire dispute, but it also raises an obvious question. Why would someone who already employs a multi-million-dollar private security operation in California be fighting so fiercely for protection from British police? The answer may have less to do with personal safety than with what that protection represents. Anyone with immense wealth in London can hire world-class private bodyguards. They are experienced, discreet, and highly trained. Where the law allows, they can even carry weapons. But there are limits to what private security can do. They cannot halt traffic across the city. They cannot activate blue lights. They cannot lead a police motorcade through London's streets with official outriders clearing the way as cameras capture every moment. And that difference changes everything. For the Sussexes, critics argue that security is not merely protection, it is also a symbol of status. Private bodyguards are associated with celebrities. A state police escort signals royal authority. According to palace insiders, this loss of official prestige is one of the Duke's deepest frustrations. During discussions surrounding his UK visits, Harry reportedly told officials, "My private team does not have the intelligence access or the authority to move through London the way a state-sanctioned team does." His argument was that, without the full backing of the Metropolitan Police, his family would remain vulnerable. But that's only part of the story. The situation becomes even more complicated when you consider Harry's proposed solution. He offered to personally pay for police protection. On the surface, that may sound reasonable. Yet the courts rejected the proposal almost immediately. Their reasoning was straightforward. British police are not a private security service available to the highest bidder. Allowing wealthy individuals to purchase official state protection would create a precedent that could blur the line between public authority and private privilege. It would effectively allow money to buy the appearance and power of the British state. That is precisely what the court was determined to avoid. By pursuing this level of protection, the Duke appears to be trying to preserve a place in two completely different worlds at once. He wants the independence and freedom that come with living as a private citizen in the United States. At the same time, he seeks the official status, ceremonial prestige, and state-backed security that accompany being a senior royal in Britain. That balancing act has pushed the monarchy into an increasingly difficult position. And as more details from the legal filings continue to emerge, the conflict looks less like a straightforward dispute over safety and more like a battle over identity, privilege, and public perception. As the courtroom pressure continues to build, one question hangs over the entire case. What happens if the final ruling leaves no room for public relations campaigns or carefully crafted headlines? The answer may already be taking shape behind palace walls, where an even more sensitive calculation appears to have been unfolding away from the courtroom. While judges weighed legal arguments, another battle was quietly being fought in the court of public opinion. This time, the focus was not constitutional law. It was money, millions of pounds, millions of dollars, and allegations of extraordinary hypocrisy. The Sussexes have repeatedly emphasized that they are financially independent, yet critics argue they continue seeking access to benefits tied to the very public institution they chose to leave behind. For many observers, this has become the story of a couple who built a global brand around privacy while generating enormous wealth through unprecedented public exposure. The numbers themselves are remarkable. Since relocating to California, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have reportedly signed commercial agreements valued at well over $100 million. Their deals with Netflix and Spotify alone place them among some of the world's highest-earning public figures. By almost any standard, that level of wealth should be more than sufficient to fund elite private security indefinitely. Even so, Harry remains engaged in a legal fight over security costs estimated at roughly $3 million per year. The contrast has not gone unnoticed. One financial analyst summed it up this way: when you are operating at the highest levels of Hollywood, spending $3 million annually on security is simply part of the cost of doing business. It represents only a small portion of their yearly income. Yet Harry maintains that this level of protection should continue to be provided by the British state, despite choosing to build his life thousands of miles away. The optics become even more challenging when viewed through the eyes of ordinary British taxpayers. The Duchess is regularly photographed attending major events wearing designer outfits, reportedly worth more than $7,000 in a single appearance. Those images project extraordinary wealth. Meanwhile, many families across the United Kingdom continue struggling through an ongoing cost of living crisis. To critics, the contrast is difficult to ignore. They see multimillionaires asking the public to fund security while wearing clothing that costs more than many households spend on energy in an entire year. But this is where the debate grows even more controversial. A significant portion of Prince Harry's recent fortune came from his memoir, Spare. The book generated tens of millions of dollars while revealing deeply personal and sensitive details about life inside the royal family. In the eyes of many critics, he profited from exposing the institution he now argues places his family in danger. One commentator captured that criticism with a striking analogy, saying, "You cannot set fire to the house and then complain that it is too hot to live in, especially when you are charging the world for a front-row seat to the fire." And then another question inevitably follows. If Harry's only concern is protecting Archie and Lilibet, why insist that British taxpayers shoulder the responsibility? King Charles possesses private resources through the Duchy of Lancaster, a personal estate separate from public funding that can be used to support members of the royal family. If financial assistance were the sole issue, that avenue could theoretically exist without involving taxpayer money. Yet Harry has consistently pursued official state-backed protection instead. To many observers, that suggests this battle has never been purely about the cost. It is about something much larger. He is not simply asking to feel secure. He is seeking something that only official state protection can deliver. What he wants is the recognition that comes with Metropolitan Police security, the unmistakable signal of royal status, complete with police outriders and access to official intelligence briefings. That distinction reveals what many believe is at the heart of this dispute. This is no longer simply about financial resources. It is about an unwillingness to personally fund a level of status that, in Harry's view, belongs to him by birth, even after stepping away from the responsibilities that once justified those privileges. The Sussexes have earned millions through deals with Netflix and other commercial ventures. Funding a secure lifestyle is clearly within their means. But critics argue they are not asking taxpayers to finance their safety alone. They are asking them to preserve the appearance and authority that comes with official royal protection. As legal costs continue to rise and public patience grows thinner, another question becomes impossible to ignore. If this battle is not truly about money, and not entirely about security, then what is the real objective? The answer may lie behind palace doors, hidden within reports of private correspondence that hint at efforts to recover something far more valuable than police escorts. History has never been sentimental. Inside Buckingham Palace, decisions are rarely shaped by emotion. They are guided by precedent, tradition, and lessons learned over generations. To understand why both the British government and the monarchy have remained so firm in responding to Prince Harry's legal challenge, we have to turn the clock back almost 90 years. The story begins in 1936. It was a year that pushed the House of Windsor to the edge of crisis and forever changed the rules surrounding duty, privilege, and sacrifice. A king gave up his throne for love and in doing so discovered one of the monarchy's most uncompromising truths. Walk away from the role, and the protections that come with it disappear as well. King Edward VIII stood among the most admired public figures of his era, charismatic, influential, and expected to guide the British Empire into a new chapter. His future appeared secure. Then he fell in love with Wallis Simpson, a twice-divorced American woman. When the government made it clear that he could not both marry her and remain king, Edward faced a choice that would alter royal history forever. In a radio address heard around the world, he told the nation, "I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility and to discharge my duties as king, as I would wish to do without the help and support of the woman I love." The moment his abdication became official, everything changed. Edward was no longer the sovereign. He became the Duke of Windsor. And with that new title came a dramatic shift in reality. The British government withdrew his state-funded security. Although he had once worn the crown, and despite the genuine dangers that accompanied the growing instability across Europe, the government's position remained unwavering. Without official royal duties, there would be no taxpayer-funded protection. Living in exile in France, Edward was left to arrange and finance his own private security for the remainder of his life. That historical precedent now casts a long shadow over Prince Harry's legal fight. The monarchy has always operated on a simple principle: privilege and public service are inseparable. One does not exist without the other. Royal historians have repeatedly pointed to Edward VIII's abdication as the defining example of how the institution treats those who step away from official duty. One palace insider familiar with the monarchy's constitutional history reportedly explained it this way: if the institution refused to bend the rules for a man who actually wore the crown, changing them now would undermine everything the monarchy stands for. They did not do it for a king, and they certainly will not do it for a duke. That comparison presents one of the greatest challenges to the Sussexes' position. Prince Harry has frequently spoken about his birthright, suggesting that being the king's son should entitle him to lifelong state protection regardless of the path he chose. History tells a different story. By stepping back from royal service, Harry also stepped away from the constitutional role that once justified those privileges. From the perspective of the British state, he now occupies the position of a private citizen, much like his great-great-uncle before him. The Duke of Windsor spent the rest of his life in an elegant villa outside Paris, surrounded by comfort and luxury, yet he remained permanently separated from the institution he once led. He kept the title, but the authority was gone. He retained worldwide recognition, but the protection of the British state never returned. Many believe Prince Harry is now confronting the very same reality. The lesson established nearly a century ago still stands. The monarchy does not reshape its rules around individuals. Instead, individuals are expected to adapt to the institution. Viewed through that lens, this modern dispute reaches far beyond police escorts, security teams, or courtroom arguments. It has become a struggle over the very meaning of royal identity itself. But this is where the story takes another unexpected turn. If both history and the law appear to stand against Harry's position, why continue pressing forward? What is the ultimate goal beyond winning a security case? Some believe the answer may be hidden within leaked documents, suggesting that this legal battle is only the opening move in a much broader and far more consequential strategy. Beyond court filings, legal arguments, and constitutional precedent, another conflict has quietly unfolded inside the private world of the royal family. This is no longer simply about logistics. It is no longer only about money. It has become something far more personal, a battle of emotional endurance. And at the center of that struggle are two children, Archie and Lilibet. According to critics, they have become the unintended focus of an increasingly complex negotiation between two sides that remain deeply divided. As the world watches, many believe an unsettling transformation has taken place. The family itself has become part of the strategy, and above everything else, one reality continues moving forward without pause: time. No amount of wealth, influence, or legal maneuvering can stop the clock from ticking. King Charles is now 75 years old, and he is facing one of the most difficult periods of his life while continuing treatment for cancer. For most families, news like this becomes a powerful reminder that old disagreements matter far less than the time that remains. It creates a rare opportunity to heal broken relationships, a brief chance for a grandfather to build lasting memories with his grandchildren before that opportunity slips away. Yet, according to critics, that window is steadily closing. Not because of the king's illness itself, but because of the conditions surrounding his own son's return. The contradiction is difficult to ignore. Prince Harry has devoted years to speaking publicly about mental health, breaking cycles of generational trauma, and the importance of emotional healing. Through interviews, documentaries, and countless pages of his memoir, he has described the pain of growing up with emotional distance and the lasting impact of feeling disconnected from a parent. But many observers argue that he now finds himself creating a similar distance for his own children. By declining to bring Archie and Lilibet to Britain until his security demands are met, critics say he has tied their relationship with the king to the outcome of an ongoing legal battle. For many, that has become one of the most controversial aspects of the entire dispute. A source reportedly close to the royal household described the king's private feelings by saying, "The king's greatest wish is simply to be a grandfather to enjoy the quiet moments every family treasures. But those moments are being treated like bargaining chips." From that perspective, the message appears unmistakable. If King Charles wants to spend time with his grandchildren, the price is official police protection, state-backed security, and royal motorcades. Critics argue that precious family moments have become intertwined with a debate over royal status and constitutional privilege. This is where the emotional stakes become impossible to ignore. Archie and Lilibet are growing up in the comfort and security of California. But according to many commentators, they are also growing up separated from a significant part of their family history. They remain far from a grandfather who is growing older while confronting serious health challenges of his own. Reports claim Harry has defended his position in conversations with those close to him, saying, "I will not put them at risk for the sake of a photo opportunity." Viewed from his perspective, the decision is about protection. Viewed from the perspective of many critics, it looks very different. Rather than a shield, they see leverage. By connecting the children's presence to a favorable outcome in the security dispute, the Sussexes have created a situation in which family reunions appear dependent upon legal victory. To those observers, they have moved beyond simply protecting their privacy and into controlling access to one of the king's deepest personal wishes. As concern over King Charles's health continues around the world, that perception has only intensified. It is a strategy that seems to assume there will always be another opportunity. But that's only part of the story. Inside Windsor, many believe the greatest loss has never been about court rulings, police escorts, or constitutional arguments. It is the possibility that an irreplaceable chance for reconciliation could disappear forever before the family has the opportunity to come together again. And just as emotions surrounding the dispute reach new heights, another, even more unsettling theory begins to emerge. What is really happening behind the gates of Montecito after the cameras are switched off? In the world of diplomacy, royal tradition, and carefully calculated strategy, the person speaking the loudest is not always the one holding the strongest position. Over the past several years, Prince Harry and Meghan have used nearly every major media platform available: documentaries, televised interviews, podcasts, and memoirs to share their perspective with a global audience. Many believe they expected public attention to pressure the monarchy into changing course. By making the security dispute highly visible and linking it to the presence of their children, critics argue they hope to place the royal family in an increasingly difficult position. But according to those same observers, they overlooked one fundamental reality. The crown has never negotiated through the media, and this is where everything changed. Buckingham Palace did not respond with emotional statements. It did not launch a public campaign. It did not counter with interviews or lawsuits. Instead, it answered with silence. While Prince Harry pursued his legal challenge through the courts, King Charles and Prince William continued carrying out official engagements and focused on the day-to-day responsibilities of the monarchy. Rather than debating the issue publicly, they allowed the legal process to unfold without direct intervention. One senior palace official reportedly summarized that approach by saying, "The crown does not explain, it does not complain, and it certainly does not negotiate with those who have already walked away from the table. That silence may have become the palace's most effective response." By refusing to engage publicly, the monarchy denied the confrontation many expected. According to critics, that left much of the Sussexes' public leverage with nowhere to go. The decision to cancel Archie and Lilibet's visit was widely viewed as a move that would place enormous pressure on Buckingham Palace and force a response over the issue of state-funded security. But what happened next surprised many people. Instead of creating panic inside the palace, the cancellation appeared to reinforce a different message altogether. The institution continued exactly as it always had. And in the eyes of many observers, it underscored a difficult reality. The monarchy, as an institution, will continue with or without the Sussexes.